It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Talk to Me. What a political week this has been. And let me invite you to listen, enjoy a political radio journalist, talk show host, my friend Shelley Wynter. Shelley Wynter was our first guest when we first started this show in 2019. We welcome him back because he has a new show. He's grown in grace with the show called Talk on the Street. Am I correct? Talk on the Street. Shelley, welcome.
Thank you, Maynard. How you doing, brother?
Shelley, you upset or thrill some of your political listeners with an audio ode to why you voted for Warnock and Ossoff in the Senate runoff, as opposed to the Republican candidates. You are an avowed Republican enthusiast and supporter. Why the change of heart, and what's been the reaction to it?
The change of heart really came over the 2 months. First, my reasoning for voting for them in the general had less to do with me liking them or not liking them. Obviously, I was voting party lines, but it was really also the more pressing need was to keep the keep the Senate in Republican control to protect Donald Trump from being impeached by the Democrats. So that was the real, for me personally, going to the polls in the general. I'm voting for Loeffler and Perdue with party lines, but I also want to protect the president. When the president lost the election, and they're in a runoff now I want policies. Now I'm asking for specific things. And one of the specific things that I was asking for from both of them, which was something that was very important to me, which was Trump's Platinum Plan for African Americans. In other words, you're going to be in the U.S. Senate. This guy put out a plan specifically for African Americans, specifically for African American economic empowerment. And I wanted to see, would you push through a lot of those things if you were elected to stay or return back to the Senate? Would you have better ideas? Would you have different ideas? What would be your feelings? And I couldn't get either of them on to talk about it. And so if I have a policy that I want, there are a lot of people who are one policy people. The whole pro-life movement is a one policy group. So there are a lot of people who have single issues. In this particular case, I'm not one of them, but in this particular case, I had a single issue, and that was African American economic empowerment. And as two sitting senators, you're going to have the power to control the Senate. What's your position on these? And I was insulted, quite honestly, that I could not get them on to answer that question. Perdue's campaign essentially didn't answer me. Loeffler's campaign played touchy-feely with me. So skipping over to the Democrats, Ossoff's campaign came on and answered the question. And he said, I don't care where a good idea comes from. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. So when he came on, people are saying, oh, that's so petty. But for me, it's not petty, because as a sitting U.S. Senator, I'd be surprised that I won't be able to lobby him and advocate for issues that impact African-American economic empowerment. So that's what it became for me. As for Warnock, I've been to his church. I said on my show 3 weeks ago, when the first Loeffler ad dropped about his sermons. We actually on our show, for those of you who don't know, we're on 95.5 WSB. My co-host and I, Milani Kai. We have team members DJ Crystal and Scotty B. It's an ensemble show. But 3.5, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks ago when they dropped the first Jeremiah Wright ad, we actually played the context of Jeremiah Wright's sermon to give our listeners an idea of what that sermon said and where GD America came from. And so there are people who said, well, you just don't say that. Well, I just saw 30,000 people at the Capitol basically say, goddamn America. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that I've been to Warnock's church. I've heard his sermons. I've been to that church during some of the darker moments of my life. And his sermons and his ministry and his church helped me through those times. And so it for me, those attack ads on his church and him as a pastor, not as a pro-choice pastor, because I disagreed with that too. I actually said something on his Facebook page when he said it. That's a different attack. That's a disagreement of policy as a pastor. But attacking his sermons, attacking the church, attacking him as a pastor, to me, that was personal. And I said it from weeks ago. I even told the campaign, you better be careful attacking a minister on his sermons and what he says in his sermons, because this is a Bible Belt state. And a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff. So for me, it was personal. That for Warnock, it was personal.
You are a renowned or certainly popular Black Republican. So you catch heck from both sides of the fence anyway. Has this upped the ante? Have you been criticized from both Black folks, Democrats, and some of your fellow Republicans for this about face, this admitted about face with regard to your voting in the runoff? Has it cost you at all or made you more popular?
I don't know. I mean, time will tell if it's cost me. But I mean, quite honestly, Maynard, and I'll say this to anybody, I do this because I love to do it. I don't necessarily do it to be popular, because I was on a Black Talk radio station, and as a conservative, and people, called me out, cursed me out, yelled at me every day. So, I mean, it's not about being popular. I do it because I get to say what's on my mind, and I'm honest about that. Will it cost me? I don't know. Many of the people that I see coming at me now were people that didn't listen to me since 106.7 went away. They followed the other guys on an internet radio show, so they don't tune into me over here. They follow me on Facebook, but I haven't seen anything on my Facebook page that has necessarily caused any kind of half the people left me, or you know what I mean? There are people that are mad at me, and there are people that disagree with me, but they still listen. So I mean, I don't know. Has it cost me? I couldn't really tell you, because I don't know what that means. Has it cost me? The only thing I can lose is my wife.
Your job.
You know what I mean? Well, I don't think it would cost me in my job, because I'm paid to say what I feel. So, if it cost me in my job, then I was in the wrong place to begin with.
Speaking of where you are, I want to get back to politics, but speaking of where you are, again, Talk on the Street was a weekend show last year when we interviewed you. Now you're a nightly show. Word on the street. Excuse me.
That's right.
Word on the street. My bad. But again, I want to applaud you for taking that show nightly on a major, if not the foremost radio network in Atlanta. What has that meant to you and your colleagues?
It's been very exciting. We worked very hard, and we're on the weekends, and now we're 5 days a week in a trial run for about 60 to 90 days. And, we'll see what happens. To your earlier question, as it applies to this next question, I don't know if we were moved. I'm one of four people. I'm a co-host with a co-host. So if my vote in this runoff election says, oh, wow, that show's not the same anymore, let's take it off. If that happens, I'll have to live with it, but I doubt it. But it's a fun show. We work very hard. We're very entertaining. We make you laugh. We make you smile. We make you think, and we get people, and you get mad at some of us. Sometimes you might get mad at me tonight and be mad at Milani Kai tomorrow, and be mad at Crystal the next day, and so on and so on. Because we all have different experiences. We all have different opinions.
You've taken some hits.
The one constant is our DJ Crystal hates Trump. That will never change.
And you love Trump, or you did love Trump. Do you still love Trump today after what happened yesterday, the insurrection that happened, the attempted coup? Do you still love and praise Donald Trump as you have throughout his presidency?
I was hoping when you asked me to do this a couple days ago, I was definitely ready to do it a couple days ago. After yesterday, I said, my good friend Maynard is going to ask this question after yesterday's events. Because he's a journalist. If he runs again in 2024, 3 weeks ago, I'm definitely going to the polls to vote for him 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was going to vote for him. 1 week ago, I'm pretty certain I would have voted for him. After yesterday, I gotta say, it would be hard for me to vote for him in 2024 unless there's nobody else. If he's running against Kamala Harris and it's Donald Trump, I'm voting for Donald Trump. If it's Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Ted Cruz in a primary against him, and maybe Rand Paul against him in a primary, I can go with other options. And
what does that mean?
That's as of yesterday. I just didn't like the whole thing.
What does that mean? What does that say about the Republican Party? Particularly you being a black Republican, because as you've heard already, I know that Black Lives Matter wouldn't have got away with that. Black folks couldn't have done that. That insurrection, that coup, to take over the Congress. I'm saying you heard that though. You heard.
Oh yes. I don't necessarily. I understand the sentiment. We talked about it on our show last night. I say yes and no. I've seen Black Lives Matter get away with it in D.C. I've seen them get away with it in New York City. An entire city of downtown Portland is been taken over, and nothing's happened. I've seen people throw bottles at the cops. I've seen people spit on the cops. I saw it here in Atlanta. I saw 3 young men, African Americans, no shirts on, sagging pants, bandanas around their mouth, torch a police car in front of Centennial Olympic Park, and nothing happened to them. So when we say that, yes, I understand the sentiment. I agree with it 5, 10, 15 years ago. Now, I've seen over the course of an entire summer, whole cities burn down and nobody get arrested, no one gets shot. In other words, the reason why the cities were burning was because a person was shot by the police, and then I saw the reaction, and the police didn't shoot anybody. So that's what I mean. And now let me let people understand what I'm saying. I understand the sentiment because we just talked about it last night. It's easy to make the sentiment, black people couldn't storm the Capitol, and they may not have been able to storm the Capitol like that happened, because it's two different things. Washington, D.C. street is certainly not the capital of the United States with members of Congress sitting inside. So the impetus is not an apples to apples comparison. So, so the sentiment I agree with. The actual application of it, I'm not sure is necessarily true. But that has nothing to do with my vote for Trump. That's a systemic issue. That's the equality under the law conversation. What I didn't like, what I saw yesterday, was when Black Lives Matter were rioting and looting. And I say Black Lives Matter loosely. It was Antifa, Black Lives Matter. People just, I'm using that term as a umbrella term to describe, the situation. Gotcha. When Black Lives Matter were rioting and looting, Trump famously tweeted out, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so when you storm the Capitol, the shooting doesn't start. However, that being said, a young lady did get killed. She basically bled out on the Capitol floor. And I'm not laughing. I'm just saying to the point that everyone's talking about. So someone did get killed 3 people suffered medical conditions where they died too. So 4 people in total died. One of them was from Kennesaw. The lady who got shot was a white 14-year veteran of the military. Right. So so someone did get killed. Someone did get shot by the Capitol Police. And so I think that I don't like the handling of it from the top. There was a rally, 30, 35, 40,000 people. 99% of them were peaceful. 99% of them did not storm the Capitol. 99% of them, and only less than 1,000 people stormed that door. There were 30,000 people out there.
And that's 99% were fine? 99%? Or maybe 95%? I mean, it seemed like there were
95%. More. Well, that's like, would you have broken, so here's a problem that I think we're facing in this country, and I think it's illustrated in this conversation. When we were on the radio, we said the looting and rioting that's going on in downtown Atlanta right now is being done by a small percentage of people who are taking advantage of a situation. They're looting because they're criminals. They're smashing windows because they're anarchists. And this has nothing to do with the peaceful protests that went on earlier in the night. We were able to make that distinction. I think people should be able to make the same distinction now. If 95% of a group of people are out there waving signs and just, rallying for the president, and they did not storm the Capitol, then it doesn't become Trump supporters, because Antifa was mixed in this, QAnon was mixed in this, a whole types of people were mixed in this. So just like you want to make this just distinctions when it's another group of people, let's make the distinctions now. And that's not to justify either looting, rioting, storming the Capitol or anything. That's not to do that. That's just to make the nuanced distinction of what we're watching. Because that's why the anger was there in the first place. We spent an entire 4 years demonizing a group of people no differently than African Americans have been demonized for centuries, no differently than we demonized Hispanics or demonized anybody else. So the fact of the matter is this group of people were demonized for their vote. And so now we're at a place where, what is it right for them to have stormed the Capitol? Absolutely not. But I get it. It's like I paraphrased Chris Rock earlier on my Facebook page. I wouldn't have stormed the Capitol, but I understand.
Now, what do you understand? What will you say tonight about this to your listeners? WSB Radio, again, a grand audience, white, black, Democrat, Republican. What's your message tonight about that? Folks want to hear what you got to say, man. And what is your understanding? You get it? That's what you're going to say? I understand it?
I understand the anger. I don't understand, I don't understand storming the Capitol, smashing windows, taking Nancy Pelosi's podium. I don't understand that. I don't understand violence in any sort of way to make a point. So let's understand, that's what I say. That's my point. What I understand is the anger. You've demonized this group of people. You've called them racist. You called them deplorable. You called them dupes. You called them rubes. You called them idiots. The person that they supported and they voted for, you called him a Russian spy. You said he was pissed on by Russian hookers. You've impeached him over a phone call. You've gone after him every day. So I understand if you gaslight a group of people for 4 years, this is the end result. Now, if you don't like the guy, I'm not talking about you. You're Maynard Eaton. Maynard Eaton doesn't like Donald Trump. We have someone, DJ Crystal, on our show. She hates Trump, right? But she's just on our show. You see what I'm saying? She's not a purveyor of news. She doesn't edit a newspaper that goes all across the world. She doesn't go on cable news and talks to a bunch of people to shape a narrative on a nightly basis. So the fact of the matter is, when you've done that for 4 years and then they believe that they've been cheated in an election, you've just let the cap off of a bottle that's been shooken up for 4 years. And so that's what I mean by when I say I understand. I do want to get your people to listen and understand what I'm saying. I said it last night on our show. I'm not in any way justifying it. As I was in no way justifying people rioting and looting in Atlanta. But I understood the anger coming out of the black community then, for years of being mistreated by the police. I understand where that anger comes from, but it doesn't mean you go riot and burn things down. But I understand where the anger is coming from. In this case, I understand where the anger is coming from, but you don't go storm the Capitol. And if you do, just like if you don't comply with the police, expect to get fired upon by the Capitol Police, and which is what happened.
Shelley, do you understand those who are calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, or those who are calling for the President Trump to be impeached, even though he only has a few days left? What do you get about what should happen to your president?
14 days. What is today? January 7th? That 12 and a half days? Really? I mean, this is petty now. And you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I just said? I understand the anger. So while all of this is going on, you throw gasoline on the fire by saying, oh, let's call him crazy and get him out of there. 74 million people voted for this man. You're not going to let him ride out because you're so petty? Not you, but you know what I'm saying? That's where we are. These people these people in the media, people in Congress, people in the power, they lack such self-awareness that they don't understand the anger of these people. 74 million people, more people that's ever voted for an incumbent than ever before in history, voted for this guy. You can't call him.
But more voted against him. More voted against him.
Of course, that's a point. But more voted for the most people have voted for an incumbent in the history of this country. I'm not. That's not to say he didn't lose, Maynard. You got to understand the point. Don't look at it as I'm for or against Trump. Look at what I'm saying. 74 million people voted for this man. More people voted for him than Obama. So that's a fact. So what I'm trying to say is you can't call all those people white supremacists. You can't call all those people stupid. You can't call all those people mad or crazy or anything else. That's all I'm saying. And so when they storm the Capitol, when 2,000 people storm, or less than 2,000 people storm a Capitol, and that's totally unrighteous and wrong and undemocratic, and everything flies in the face of our entire democracy or democratic republic. And then the night that they're doing that, you say, let's call the 25th Amendment and impeach the guy. Come on. You got 12 days left, you know?
Two more quick questions, Shelley. What are people calling you? What are your friends, your listeners, your political followers? What are they saying about Shelley Wynter, the Black Republican? Probably now the premier Black Republican in Atlanta in terms of your platform now. What are folks saying about you? What's the word on the street about you?
There's a group that called me an Uncle Tom and Coon 2 weeks ago, are now welcoming me back to the barbecue. There's another group who called me a patriot 2 weeks ago, are now calling me a chameleon and a piece of you know what. So pick a day and I can answer that question. It changed.
And you're okay with it, aren't you? And you're okay with it, aren't you?
I mean, I speak my mind. You know, I've always spoken my mind. I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm not trying to be, keep a job. People accuse me of liking Trump before I even got on the radio. And they said, oh, you only like Trump so you can be on the radio. Well, I liked him before I got on the radio for 2 years. Now they're saying, oh, you flipped so you can stay on the radio. Okay, well, whatever you want to think, you can think. The fact of the matter is, I tell you what I believe. If we were sitting in a barbershop, they said, hey, Shelley, what do you think of what happened yesterday? I would have given you the exact same answer I just gave you. It's going to be the same answer I give on the radio. And you live with the answer. If you don't like the answer, I hope you tune in the next night. But aside from that, there's very little I can do about someone not liking an answer or not liking my opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, Shelley Wynter has been consistent. I've known him for more than a decade. He does not shy away from what he feels in his heart, and he does like the Republican values. Finally, sir, where are we with this country? 50-50. Are we unimaginably divided? Are you concerned about where America is now in terms of its conflict, its divisiveness?
I'm not concerned. What I am concerned with is, I'm concerned with the not the divisiveness. I'm concerned with what you just talked about. You just said, what are people saying? about Shelley Wynter. Let's use me as an example, as one person. Before Monday, a couple hundred people, let's narrow down mathematically to 100 people. A sample set of 100 people. Of those 100 people, 40 people hated me, 60 people loved me. After Monday, that number completely switched on one election. We can't live like that. That's like saying, I married a New England Patriots fan, and all of a sudden, I say, I hate the Patriots, and we get a divorce. And I make a final decision about my relationship with my wife over a football team. It's the same thing on politics. We're making these family, friends decisions on who we like, who we dislike, and everything on political candidates and who we vote for. I'd rather make a decision. I love Maynard as my friend. I've always loved you as my friend. We've been friends. We differ on politics. We can have a spirited discussion at a bar, but we can agree on 99% of everything else. Wow, that sister over there is fine, ain't she? We can agree on that. We can agree on a drink. We can agree on a drink being strong. We can agree on the food being good, and we can agree on the music being good. Now, there's one other portion of our night. This conversation about politics we're not going to let it ruin the entire night. You know what I mean? So I think that's what we have to learn as a country. We're getting to a point where who we vote for, our politics, our opinions are what's defining us. And that's just silly. That's silly season.
Shelley, we disagree.
Trust me, I know.
But as you well know, we may disagree without being disagreeable. And I think maybe America can take that lesson as well.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, man, I'm so proud of you.
As long as we continue to love fine women, we can all come around that same agreement.
Well, we both have one. Listen, word on the street. Tonight, every night at 10 p.m., I'm proud of you, son. Proud of you, young man. Really,
thank you,
proud of you. And your crew.
Thank you, brother.
Really. God bless you. Good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear Shelley's decision about why he voted for John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Listen to this now. See you next week.
Peace, man.
In 2016, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go vote for Donald J. Trump. I was so excited I couldn't wait. In 2020, I did the exact same thing. This year, for the first time in my life, I wasn't necessarily excited to vote for any particular candidate. The fact is, the two people that I voted for in a general gave me no pressing reason to vote for them again in the runoff. Now, let me explain why I voted for them in the general. So my main focus was to keep a Republican-held majority in the Senate to protect Donald J. Trump from a Democrat impeachment. So now my calculus for voting for Perdue and Loeffler comes down to many different variables. I asked you to come on our show. You never answered back in one case. The other case, you said you were coming and you never came. You put us on hold. You never responded to emails. You never responded to text messages. That means a lot to me because I'm paid for content. So if you deny me content, you're hurting my pockets. But if you're not willing to come on to a voter show and have a conversation about something important to me, like Trump's platinum plan for African Americans, and would you support it going into the Senate, then where's the need? Then I thought about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, what have you done? Then I thought about the Republican Party. What does the Republican Party do to do anything about Donald Trump's hot button issues? Did you tell me, David Perdue, you're going to continue to fund the wall? That's important to me. Did you tell me about further tax cuts? That's important to me. You wanted to give 600, then you hesitated on 2,000, then you came out for 2,000 only after Trump said he was for 2,000. That's not leadership. Then, personally, my mom came to me. She said, if you don't like Perdue and Loeffler, if you're mad at them, if you're mad at the Republicans for not doing anything for Donald Trump, why don't you vote for Warnock and Ossoff? Mom, I can't do that. Stop talking crazy. Then my wife came to me, said the same thing. Bob, baby, come on, you talking crazy. I'm not voting for Warnock and Ossoff. Then I thought about it. And I remembered being in Warnock's church for the last 7 years on watch night services and bringing in the new year at Ebenezer. I remember New Year's Eve 2016 into 2017. 2017 is a year to change my life forever. I was in Ebenezer Baptist Church with Reverend Warnock preaching when I prayed to God to get me back on the radio because Donald J. Trump just got elected president. Please, God, get me back on the radio. I've been waiting so long. A good friend of mine by the name of Shannon Burke called me up and says, send me your air check. I need to get it to our program director. We're looking for someone in the mornings. So when the attacks came on Ebenezer Baptist Church, it became personal for me because I'd been there. Then when I reached out to John Ossoff's campaign and said, hey, can you come on the show and talk about Trump's platinum plan for African Americans? He was right there, Johnny on the spot. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016 because I didn't like what the Republicans were doing. That's why I voted for Donald J. Trump. You Republicans don't understand why we voted for Trump in the first place. I was mad at Kelly Loeffler because you didn't stand up for Brian Kemp. That man put you in that position to be running in a runoff, and you couldn't defend him against attacks from Trump. My wife, I had the memories of going to Ebenezer Baptist Church and seeing Reverend Warnock preaching that helped change my life, helped bring me out of dark places when I was in them. In 2000, the Democrats told me George W. Bush was going to ruin America. 2008, the Republicans told me Barack Obama was going to ruin America. Remember the emails that went around about boxcars with body bags? We're going to turn to a Muslim country. None of it ever happened. 2016, Democrats told me Trump was going to ruin America. It's going to go down in flames. And now the Republicans are telling me if Ossoff and Warnock get elected to the Senate, that's the end of America as we know it. You're not going to fearmonger me. You're not going to manipulate me. You're not going to gaslight me. So when I went to the polls, I put my green card in. I went to push Loeffler and Perdue because that's what I do. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. That's what I do. I vote for Republicans and I vote for conservatives. But then something hit me. My mom's voice hit me. My wife's voice hit me. Trump's voice hit me. And I heard Trump's voice loud and clear from a Detroit black-owned restaurant in 2016 say, what do you have to lose? Ladies and gentlemen, don't cancel me. Don't stop listening to this show. I hope you understand that what I did was about my freedom. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the love you have for the Republican Party. It has nothing to do with what you do for your vote. This all had to do with me because my vote is personal. And I'm not going to let anybody manipulate me to vote for them. And I know many of you may be upset. I just hope you understand that what I did for me, my mom, my wife, and me personally. This country is strong. No two senators are going to destroy America as we know it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this. I did not personally leave the Democratic plantation to end up on the Republican plantation. I'm a free man in America.